in St. Catharines, Ontario. Back during the summer of 1977, work was scarce, so Keith agreed to a weekend job demolishing an old stone shed back of a house near the bus station. The pay? The minimum, $2.65 per hour. Keith was finished by noon Sunday and was paid $29.15. But as he was leaving, the boss asked him if he wanted to make an extra $20. Doing what? The answer was guarding the place overnight. The demolition of the shed had exposed the back of the old house, including flimsy-looking French doors, just inviting a break-in. A new back fence would be going up Monday, but the owner wanted someone to watch over the place Sunday night. And so, that's how Keith ended up lying on a camp bed in front of the French doors, getting paid $20 for sleeping. In the Niagara region in August, the nights are warm and balmy, perfect for sleeping outdoors. But in case of rain, Keith had a key to the French doors and could let himself in. So, after the darkness had taken control, Keith lay back on the camp bed, listening to country music on a transistor radio and waiting for sleep to come. Sleep to come. And it did. But then the heavens were rent by a terrific peal of thunder, and Keith awoke to warm rain falling on his upraised face. Keith just managed to push the bed inside and shut the French doors when the tsunami hit. Now, Keith was no stranger to thunderstorms, but the sheer volume of this watery blast took him from surprise to amazement and finally to awe. It was more like a waterfall than a storm, a waterfall which threatened to burst open the doors and flood the room. In fact, water was already running across the floor. And that's when Keith saw the faces. At first, they were mere shadows, dark outlines. But then he saw the face of a man, half eaten away, staring through the glass at him. Keith took an instinctive step back, and then saw the others. Thin, fleshless faces, or faces bloated by rotting gases. Most were without eyes, but even so, they seemed to stare at him with hunger. Those were the human faces, for there were others, fish faces with gaping mouths and gills, squid faces with beaks and eyes the size of dinner plates, and then a tentacle, dead white, with huge suction cups slammed up against the glass, and then the doors flew open. Keith found himself in water up to his waist, but that wasn't the worst. A huge pinkish-green tentacle, a foot thick, snaked into the room and wrapped itself around Keith's neck and squeezed while one of its cups began tearing his face off. Keith was found early the next morning, deceased. Weather records for St. Catharines showed the Sunday night, Monday morning period to have been still, with no precipitation. But the autopsy revealed that Keith's cause of death was drowning. And while everything else was high and dry, Keith's clothes and the camp bed on where his corpse lay were soaked with what smelled like seawater. The moral of the story? There has to be an easier way to make $20. For Keith, the job was a total washout. If this is your first visit to my channel, please consider subscribing. My name is Warren, and I write and tell original ghost stories and original horror stories featuring such cryptids as the Night Floaters, werewolves, and the Black-Eyed Children. So again, please consider subscribing. Please help me to reach my goal of 2,500 subs. Till midnight. Cheers.